Morning, everyone. Welcome. You know, it's March 11, 2021. Sorry about the little wait here. We're kind of waiting for staff to come in, and we're just even myself was a few minutes late for trying to dig myself out of my driveway. So, but I want to say miigwech for being here with us today, and I guess we're gonna get the meeting started. So, I'll call the meeting to order. It is 9:22 a.m. Alan, roll call, please.
Yeah, District 1. Here. District 2.
Here.
District 3.
Here.
And I'm here.
Yeah, we have a quorum, miigwech. Next up is review and approval of the agenda. I know we kind of have I think the agenda was put on the website yesterday, so it's kind of, that's out there. Is it not, Maria, it's on the website?
Yes.
It's on the website, so the agenda's on the website, so. Anything to add to the agenda?
EMP?
Just one thing. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
EMP? Okay, we'll add it on there. Anything else, guys? Kurt, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Just the one, Mr. Chair, is that Great Little.
Yeah.
They're having a tough time trying to get the body from North Dakota back to Minnesota. They need an extra $569 or $570 in order to get the body from North Dakota back here.
I think something that we could probably put that into, you guys want to talk about that in executive? Yeah, we'll talk about that in executive session, Ray. Be good.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll get them. So. All right, motion to approve the agenda.
Wait a minute, should I change dates then?
Change dates for what?
For the funeral rooms?
No, yeah, we'll talk about it in executive, okay?
All right.
Okay, thank you. All right, motion to approve the agenda.
Motion.
Motion by Annie.
Motion.
Second by Raymond. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Be good. Next up is review and approve the meeting minutes for 2/26/21.
Just on page 4, and Mr. Chairman, I have, it says if the RBC continues with the food shelf, and that should be EOC, and.
With the EOC?
Yeah, and I actually said because they're losing revenue on the rooms at the Shooting Star Casino.
Was that page 2?
Page 4. So on the space there, also space should be taken out.
I got it.
Yeah.
And also, I talked to Annie yesterday a little bit, and we were kind of mentioning that we kind of want to open up the doors a little more for our nation, because we're kind of getting like some of the services are not answering their phones, and I think that some of the you know, a lot of our employees are working from home. I know it's hard to contact certain divisions and departments. And I think that we were talking about yesterday, and this probably goes for all council, is like maybe open up and put more people back in their offices, you know, in the near future. I think Curtis and Lori could probably get that organized and get us some dates, some soft dates where we can look at maybe bringing back more of our employees to the offices, so, you know, we can get more stuff done. So I'm not saying we're not getting enough done, but just, you know, have people there to, in case someone needs more help or, you know, streamline things better, so.
I agree with that.
Okay. All right, so it won't be on the agenda, it's something we'll just have Kurt and Lori work on, to talk to the directors and managers on getting more people and more staff back in their offices, so. All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're waiting. Okay. Yeah, we invite them down, don't we?
Yeah, I'm just checking.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the approval to approve the regular, was it regular? Was that the regular meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, the regular meeting on 2/26/21 with changes. Motion by Alan, second.
Second.
Second by Annie, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Calendar.
Tom's request for broadband.
I know they're talking about putting the gaming commission on Monday the 22nd. We're gonna have our regular meeting on the 19th. So that's,
19th?
yeah, so that's next Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, so
We're at
Here,
here,
it'll be right here.
when's your next elder meeting?
so next Monday.
Month the 15th?
Yeah, right down here.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know gaming commission's on the 22nd, so.
And also, Mr. Chair, they canceled 1855 meeting tomorrow, and they changed it to the 23rd of next month.
Okay. Ray, where's that gonna be at, you know?
Down at East Lake, Big Sandy Lodge.
Okay, good, okay. So people know where it's at, so. You good? Anything else to the calendars? I know. I think that we got.
So the Boys and Girls Club board
Empty.
would like some time with you guys to discuss what it looks like going forward for them and for the Boys and Girls
Do you think
Club.
that should be on like a Teams meeting? Does it have to be a regular meeting?
Yeah.
Is that all right with you guys? To meet with the club on the Teams meeting, set it up, Kurt.
All right, we'll just,
And also a meeting with IHS on the 18th.
Yes, I know. I brought that up in the executive, because I know I had a call yesterday too about it, so. Okay, be good, Shannon. I was gonna talk about that in the executive, so.
Oh, and then, yeah, I'll bring up something in executive
Yeah.
too. Well, maybe it can be, because I'm thinking we need to bring the drug force back,
Yeah.
you know, whether it be teams or whatever, you know, so we can get together and meet, because there's some stuff falling through the cracks that we need to,
Should
you know,
we
get everybody working together again, so
Okay.
Kurt,
You hear it,
April
Kurt?
this week?
I just forget about the drug force,
Okay.
task force.
You here?
this sooner the better.
Mhm.
All right, guys.
One more request, Mr. Chair. Tom Clement wanted time with the RBC to talk about the broadband discussion.
That could be via Teams as
Yeah,
well.
do it, you set up on Teams, Kurt, get us some dates.
Okay.
I think we can all chime in on that. That'd be good. I like that, because that's where a lot of that package of the new Heroes Act is coming out through broadband. That's one of the big things in there,
Mhm. And he has some.
for tribes to get into the broadband.
First week.
And we
Any
need that,
dates.
so.
You're open the whole first week. Through the night, Kurt.
Okay.
Also, Mr. Chair, they're looking at the 22nd, leaving on the 21st to go out to Williston to put these places out, and houses they were talking about or whatever. That's a floor, you can get it set up.
Yeah, Kurt might have to, cause I don't know, Lori's out all next week, and I know she's out for a couple days here, cause.
Of this month,
Yes. Kurt checking it.
Probably.
Yeah,
It
Kurt.
didn't have rain on the number to get a hold of it, so.
because we got baby commission on the
Yeah.
22nd, so.
If Ray wants to head out, we could head out there and check it
Talk
out.
to Williston.
I mean, yeah, I mean, he can go take pictures and look at them if he wants to go out there and explore that, so.
Yeah, and I think, Mike
busy week.
Thompson and, Martin will be going along also.
All right, Ray McGuitch.
And I'm not sure if Adam wants to go or not, I'll contact him.
Okay. All right, guys, so calendars are done. Next up, we have Sarah. Kurt, want to go grab Sarah? Is she out there? No, this one too, I don't think we bring up names. I think we just bring up the district, so. There's not much on here, so. Annie, do you have any objections on yours?
No,
Okay. Kathy, did you see the land list for the home sites and residential? Your 3 names?
No.
Is there an email on that?
Yep, I sent out the meeting packet.
Kathy, look in your meeting packet in that, because Annie has no problems with her name, so she has 4 of them, so. Because I don't want to say names on TV, so.
All right, well, how about if I talk to you later on that?
Do you want to table them then, or do you want to approve them and then talk about them later? Or what do you want to do?
I want to table it because I didn't get a chance to see it.
Do you want to text her those names? Hang on here. Can you get text messages there? Hang on, I'll send you a text message.
Sometimes.
Hang on. It's easier just to do this.
Take a picture and send it to her. Kathy, I'm just gonna step out of the room and I'll tell you the names, okay?
Yeah, there you go. That'd be better. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
hi, Sarah.
Well, next up on the agenda, we have the land department. Sarah's here to go over 7 or 6 home sites and 1 residential. Annie already said, or we'll just go through. You can go ahead. I'm sorry. Kind of going way ahead of you, I guess, so.
No, I have 2 in District 2 and 4 in District 3. And it's just basically transferring from one to another or adding someone or removing them.
Great, I'll put you back on speaker.
Okay.
Okay, she knows now.
I'm good with mine.
Okay. Kathy, are you good with the 2 for the home sites?
3, yeah.
Okay, well, she's good with all 3 of them, but we'll take action on the first, on the home site. Motion to okay the home sites for the 2 in District 2 and the 4 in District 3.
Motion.
Motion by Annie, second.
Second.
Second by Alan, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carried.
Just
Motion
looking
carried.
at my seats, I forgot to take it out.
Good, Sarah.
And I have one residential. Just looking for a mortgage.
Okay, one residential looking for a mortgage in District 2. Motion for that one.
Motion.
Motion by Kathy, second.
Second.
Second by Annie, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you,
Perfect.
Sarah.
Thank you.
Take care. I guess you can send it to the next group.
Okay.
There we go. Have a seat. Have a seat. Have a seat anywhere at the table. Where do I go now?
Is Frank gonna be out?
He's on the phone. Remember, guys, we're on live TV, so names and everything else.
Also, don't do anything weird.
Yeah, don't do nothing like. Oh, cussing.
Yeah, good morning, all of you. Good morning, Alan. Morning.
Was Frank gonna join us too on the phone?
Yep, he was sent the calling number.
Did you
Frank, are you on the line?
So I'm on the.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning, Frank. We got Winona, Pam, and John are here. So.
Okay.
All right, next up on the agenda, we have the Frank Bebo 1855 Tribal Court. Frank? Is there a PowerPoint here?
Yes.
Go ahead, Frank.
All right, very good. PowerPoint's up.
We got a written
Yes,
copy
no.
of it.
Okay, good. Okay, so the White Earth Off-Reservation Tribal Court is the next logical extension of White Earth sovereignty and individual sovereignty in the 1855. We've been, since 2010, White Earth has been adopted the Off-Reservation Conservation Code for the 55. Leech Lake did in 2011. The Conservation Code created the 1855 Treaty Authority. White Earth and Leech Lake have always been a participant on it. And then the 1855 Conservation Code is essentially exactly the same as the 1854 Authority Code. Grand Portage and Boys Port are the only two in it. It used to be called the Tri-Band when Fond du Lac was in it, but Fond du Lac got out of it about 30 years ago. The 1854 Treaty Agreement, basically, without knowing the exact numbers, the state of Minnesota compensates approximately $15 million every 2 years to Boys Port and Grand Portage for the exact same conservation code that we've adopted for the 1855. So that's one of the things that could happen. I know that the tribal members are interested in exercising their rights, but I just wanted to make sure that tribal members and the council understood that there is a large sum of money out there being paid annually for the 1854 ceded territory. Leech Lake Reservation has had payment in lieu of special licenses for approximately, well, I would say 50 years. Ever since the agreement after the Brian, anyway, the case against the state of Minnesota with the commissioner and Hearst. Leech Lake has been getting approximately $3.5 million a year from the state revenue for 5% of the proceeds for all licenses sold in the state of Minnesota for hunting, fishing, and trapping. For whatever reason, and I don't know why, The same deal was set up for White Earth, but it's only at 2.5%. And for whatever reason, White Earth has never entered into the agreement since 1986 when this was set up. It would probably at 2.5% be about $1.5 million more per year. Right now, as far as I know, everybody's fishing on White Earth Reservation without any payment from state licenses to fish within the boundaries of the reservation. So that's something that should be looked at. The next slide shows you that there's money being appropriated for the 1854 treaty agreement and for White Earth. Where that money is, I don't know if it exists in a bank account yet because it hasn't come to an agreement. Something to think about. As far as the treaties go, the 1825-1826 Treaty of Prairie du Chien, the red line boundary separates the Chippewa and the Sioux. And in that treaty, it said we decide as the Chippewa who decides north of that boundary. When you look at the next slide for Gliffwick, you'll see that most of the territory is almost identical in Wisconsin and Michigan, but not where the 55 is or where the 66 is with Boys Fort. Essentially, Gliffwick is managing the resources all the way over for all of the Chippewa from Michigan coming right into Minnesota and vice versa. The Chippewa from the 54 and 37 in Minnesota are going in to Wisconsin and Michigan at times to also exercise rights because all of our rights are the same all the way across the territory. We just haven't gotten ours legally recognized yet. So when you look at the next map, you'll see the different ceded territories. The 1855 ceded territory is right in the middle. The next map shows the 1855 ceded territory on a MnDOT map, so you can kind of get a good idea where the different communities and lakes and roads come and go out of the 1855. The following slide is our old reservations. It shows White Earth when it was an intact 36 township reservation from the original treaty of 1867. It shows Leech Lake. It shows Sandy Lake and Kegama, Gull Lake and Rabbit Lake, Mille Lacs. Basically, the blue line is the Mississippi River. Throughout the treaties, we were referred to as the Chippewas of the Mississippi, and this, I believe, is where our water rights are, the entire upper Mississippi. About 5 years ago now, maybe 6, we had a protest down at Hole in the Day, and when we did that, on the 2015, the 1855 Treaty Authority tore up the one-day license that the DNR gave us as an educational permit. We came back the next day and we riced more, and there was also net set. But as a result of that protest, the legislature changed the law in 2016 to where tribal members don't have to have any kind of state license anymore as long as they have an ID card from a federally recognized tribe. So that changed, but at the same time, they're still enforcing the other laws against us. And as of 2017, I've got 4 cases in Aiken County for tribal members who were ricing after the state hours. They came into the landing about 6 o'clock, and the DNR wrote them all up for coming in after 3 p.m. in the afternoon, even though the 1855 has been posting our hours from sunrise to sunset for many years. So we've raised subject matter jurisdiction in all those cases in Aiken County, and what we're looking at, the first cases I would try to have transferred over are those 4 cases. The amendment to the White Earth Judicial Code was put together after a meeting with Lenny and Judge DeGroat and I, and basically it just adds 1 paragraph to allow for off-reservation jurisdiction and for the tribal court to be the basis of that. So going past that, the treaty beneficiary rights and the right, there's 2 pieces that the 1855 has adopted in the past. One is the right to travel, use, and occupy traditional lands and waters. I put this together after looking at what happened with Dapple and Standing Rock and the way things were being misinterpreted out there and what our federal treaty rights are. in terms of the rights to travel and use and occupy the resources within our territories. And we needed to have something that spelled out how we see our rights, because the 1990 decision from the U.S. Supreme Court says treaties are to be interpreted the way the Indians would have understood them at the time. And we would have always understood that we could travel wherever we need to, use whatever we need to, and occupy those places as we would need to. Rights of Monoman, that's a rights of nature law that was adopted by White Earth and 1855. And that is a legal mechanism to protect Monoman as though it was one of our relatives. We've given it essentially personhood because we recognize it as one of the most important pivotal parts of our culture. Both of those would be adopted into the code also with White Earth as legal defense mechanism for tribal members. In particular, I look at those as legal defenses for tribal members who are out acting as water protectors right now. That's one of the things that's going to happen is we're either going to have cases that are going to be transferred to tribal court through the state system, or we'll be at odds with them and we'll have to make sure that they're following what our laws are while we decide what other steps we want to take. Right now, there's 5 different kinds of charges. Actually, there's 6 charges that they're using, just like they did at Standing Rock. They're using trespass. Well, trespass is a civil regulatory law. They may have criminalized it with a bigger penalty, but it doesn't mean it's criminal. It just means it has a criminal penalty. Harassment, that may very well be the same thing. It's a verbal exchange about people talking or arguing about what their rights are. If we have a right to be there, we can't be trespassed. If we have a right to be there, how can we be harassing someone if they're in an argument with us? Unlawful assembly, that's also a civil right. Presence at an unlawful assembly. That means if you're even standing there and watching what somebody else is an unlawful assembly, the state is trying to charge people with a crime when really it's all civil regulatory. The same with public nuisance. Civil regulatory is the parts of the law that we're able to enforce for ourselves. Now, in 1997, the Stone decision recognized there were a lot of things that they couldn't enforce on reservation. Motor vehicle insurance, driving with an expired license, speeding, and things like that. I'm not sure what that noise is.
Oh, go ahead.
But anyway, that's okay. What we're talking about are the natural resource codes off reservation. The same thing essentially as the 1854 Treaty Authority. We're talking about our rights to hunt, fish, and gather, and to protect our resources that are off reservation. And that comes back to the land and the water. And so I believe that all of those are essentially like, and I don't know if White Earth had a court like this, but 40 years ago, all Leech Lake used to have was a natural resources court. And that's what this really is a natural resources court. White Earth conservation, if you're looking at next to the last slide, people like Al Fox and Ron Warren, they'll be the conservation officers who will be taking calls from other Minnesota DNR conservation officers. They'll be wondering about how this mechanism works, and they'll be able to pass that information on to the tribal court and to the court admin so that they understand how to contact them. The same with the tribal court administration. They'll be taking calls from the other county courts and the prosecutors about how to transfer that information as well. I would anticipate that most of the hearings, the way they are right now in the county courts, will be mostly by Zoom. So that's how the hearings will proceed for right now. I'm coordinating with volunteer attorney groups for water protectors from the National Lawyers Guild, Line 3 Defense, and the 1855 Treaty Authority. And basically, we're trying to coordinate the defenses for all of the water protectors. And I would like to think that by doing this off-reservation tribal court, we will be able to have most of our tribal members' cases or charges that are really civil regulatory transferred to the tribal court and not be prosecuted as crimes like they did out in Standing Rock. We're at the beginning of this, and it's important to get a good start on it. When I started looking at things at Standing Rock, they already had 800 people charged as water protectors, And it was after the fact. They weren't able to get in front of it. And the chief judge that I met at Standing Rock, he was already protecting his sister, or defending and representing his sister in state court, and his brother-in-law, because of what happened at Standing Rock. So ultimately, it's all of us and all of our relatives who end up out there. And this is a mechanism to help us protect our resources. It's also a mechanism to look at Sandy Lake and how to maybe help them through their recognition process and become reestablished. So with that, I'll stop if anybody has any questions.
I guess, I guess I know Ray, did he have anything to say? I know Ray and, who else has done that? 55,
Ray and I were at the last 55 meeting we had at White Earth.
No, as a matter of fact, sure, I'm in favor of it. You know, Frank filled me in yesterday on a lot of it when we talked yesterday, so.
I just had a question for the attorneys there. So, two things. One was, so there was some language that was discussed related to non-members and the effects of them volunteering themselves to go to tribal court. And so the question I have is you know, what effect would that have on our court system?
I guess in regard to what?
So say a non-member wants to subject himself to tribal court.
Well,
Okay, I just want to make sure we're talking about non-member Indians, not
Yeah, non-Indians.
are we talking non-Indians or non-member Indians? Like Leech Lake or
non-Indians.
Non-Indians.
Right. Okay. So non-Indians, they're not eligible technically for the defense because they're just not enrolled. Really, the way that our conservation code also relies on enrollment cards or tribal members being enrolled, but it also recognizes that we're looking at tribal members the way we have the conservation code written up, who are Mississippi, Pillager, Winnebagosh. The treaty bands is really who we are. And so everybody at Leech Lake primarily is one of those bands under the 1855 treaty, just as everybody is pretty much at White Earth under the 67. The 1855 treaty basically relocated tribal members to either White Earth or Leech Lake from Gull Lake, Rabbit Lake, Sandy Lake, Rice Lake, Pocatama, and those became the successor reservations, political successors. And so really, when I was showing that map with the upper Mississippi River, I think that shows what all of our rights are, and that we're all, I guess the right word I would say is eligible for the protections of the White Earth Tribal Court, whether you're from any of those bands of the 1855 treaty. Beyond that, as I was pointing out about Gliffwick, everybody who's a member of a Chippewa band enrolled in the United States bands, whether it's Michigan all the way over to Turtle Mountain and maybe even further over to Rocky Boy or whatever, we all have the exact same treaty rights. And so in that technical sense, if someone was charged or wanted to avail themselves under the jurisdiction of and volunteer to be subject to the jurisdiction of the White Earth Tribal Court, I think that they could do that without a problem. At the same time, one of those 4 members that I'm representing right now in Aiken County is from Lakuta Ray over LCO. That's part of Gliffwick. Gliffwick should actually be over defending him and saying, you don't have jurisdiction because he's part of our group and we already have an agreement with the state. But for whatever reason, they haven't stepped in. And so we've just always defended the members, you know, the treaty beneficiaries, and we're all treaty beneficiaries.
Okay.
So I think it's primarily 55 people first, you know,
Yeah.
Mississippi, Winnebagosh, and Pillager.
And then the other question I had was on page 2 of the resolution on
Okay.
the therefore be resolved. The first one reads, therefore be it resolved that the White Earth Reservation Business Committee hereby formally adopts the 1855 Treaty Authority Resolution 2018-01 for the right to travel, use, and occupy traditional lands and waters code, and by 1855 Treaty Authority Resolution 2018-05 for the rights of Monoman code as part of the laws of the White Earth Band of Ojibwe. Now I know when White Earth formally adopted the latter one, the rights of Monoman code, that there was some line item changes that were made in that code, and so and they were done for a variety of reasons. I was wondering if we could just insert the language for the one that by it's just line item change the treaty resolution from 2018-05 and just put White Earth in there.
Well, and here's what I would say is Leech Lake and White Earth both have adopted the same conservation code. And Leech Lake and White Earth have exclusive authority on how they want to do something within the boundaries of the interior of the reservation. But White Earth, in a technical sense, you know, they aren't exclusive control over the 55. Leech Lake isn't exclusive control over the 55. And so that's why it was written in such a fashion, so that in the event that neither band was pursuing some of these rights, then the members themselves, who also have rights, would be able to pursue remedies. And I don't know if that's the part you were thinking about when you asked that question, but that's the biggest part of the difference.
Yeah, there was a difference there. And I don't remember all the differences.
Right. Right.
Because I think the one of the key differences is that the White Earth Band of Ojibwe is active, and I can't speak for Leech Lake, but the White Earth Band of Ojibwe is active in ensuring that code is enforced. Okay. Matter of fact, I think a few weeks ago we had directed Jamie Arsenal to discuss the matter of a wild rice task force, put together various components of the band to actually enforce and monitor the rights of Monoman. Okay, and that's active and ongoing.
Yes.
The problem statement is if you open it up for every individual to exercise the rights of the band, I don't know if that's the right phrasing of that, then will there be some crossover? Basically, you're saying what you're saying is that 1855 provides the individual capacity to do it versus the exclusively that of the band. Now, let's say the band is executing some of this stuff, and then you have an individual that disagrees with the band, and they're going out enforcing this code. What sort of predicament would we be in?
My goal and the way I tried to draft that was to make sure that the 1855 Treaty Authority was always at the lead of what was going on and understanding when people have been charged. And we have represented every person that I know of that has been charged, because we don't want other people to go out and try to individually assert rights if they don't understand the implications of their arguments and how things might go forward. And so I think we've been very careful to try to make sure that things aren't getting out of the world of knowledge, I guess, where people know what kind of cases are going on, because we want to shape the law as the White Earth Band, as the Leech Lake Band, as the 1855 Treaty Authority. And I think to this day, aside from the Jim Northrup piece, which the courts didn't get about Fond du Lac, we haven't lost a case, you know? And so it's better for us to step in, and that's why I've been stepping in as much as I do, because we don't want anybody to start freelancing and making mistakes that don't help us go forward. And I think all the members of the 55 know that, and I get calls from people who are looking for help all the time. And so I think we're well positioned in that way. It's maybe an informal way, but you know, we're trying to keep all of this working the right way for all of us. it is a tough balance, Alan. I mean, I look at the individual rights of tribal members, and I know that even for criminal charges, individuals can raise treaty rights as a defense, and that's what happened in Squarehook. And essentially that's what's going to happen in Aiken with water protectors who are tribal members. They're raising a treaty rights defense. And we're trying to help them raise one that's consistent so that we always know what we're arguing and that we're on the right side of everything, federal government, the state of Minnesota, and everything else. It is a tough balancing act. It takes diligence to keep an eye on this, but I would say that the rights of members, unless they're regulated somehow through the conservation code, are regulated by the members themselves.
Well, and I also think it's important just to be aware that there are going to be likely issues with implementation. I mean, not that this is insurmountable or we shouldn't move forward with this, but I mean exactly to the point that you're raising, Alan, with regard to on reservation and off reservation authority, you know, and the fact that this off reservation court is being proposed as a component or subdivision of the on-reservation tribal court. And so, you know, like if you look at 1854, you know, their enforcement, judicial enforcement of their code isn't done through Bois Forte or Grand Portage tribal courts. It's done through a separate 1854 court that specifically has that off-reservation jurisdiction. And so I think that that's ultimately the goal, is to probably get there for 1855, to have that separate court that's separate from the on-reservation tribal governments and tribal courts. But I think that this is something to get us started and moving, going down the path of exercising that jurisdiction and enforcing the jurisdiction in the best way possible right now. Even though there's likely going to be issues with getting it up and running and started, and there's a lot of questions on how that's going to work. I know I had a call yesterday with Judge DeGroat and Lori Thompson where we talked about this, and there's a lot of conceptual and theoretical issues with it right now, but I mean, ultimately we'll put it in place and make it work.
The other thing I wanted to point out, number 3, is that, you know, I see this as a lot of our members at the reservation, they want to be able to have, you know, come to the tribe for their needs. They want to be able to come and get their licenses. They want to be regulated by the tribe. They don't want to be regulated by the state. They, if they had a choice between the tribal court and the state court, they'd rather come to tribal court. And I've heard that many times over, many times. And so I'm in favor of that, right? So, but at the same time, there's these, I circle back to the discussion of it's been going on since 96, 97, with, you know, letting the people decide the ultimate question on these things. And but given the, what do they call the atmospherics of the times that we live in, I think it would probably be best if we revisited a referendum on this sometime in the near future. Not immediately, but I think it needs to be visited probably within the year. Maybe even next year during elections or something like that, because that would give you guys time to prepare and make sure everything's ready and in order and all that. I still think that members should have a say in this. And Leonard Thompson was just in our meeting last week talking about this very thing, right? Leonard Roy was over here 2 weeks ago talking about this very thing. And you got other kinds of members out there that are been after this since 1997.
Well, that was actually why Judge DeGroat, Lori Thompson, and I initially scheduled a call for yesterday, was to begin that process of planning for the referendum. Yeah. And so we'll, at the direction of the RBC, we'll just continue and move forward with putting something in place for next year.
Hi, it's Winona. I'm one of those people charged in Aiken County along with Don Goodwin. We're water protectors. We're not criminals. And we would really like to have the tribe accept some responsibility for those rights. We would really rather be in tribal court. And I understand, this discussion about a referendum, but I think that it's an interesting moment because the tribe does have a court. It does have a jurisdiction, and it is a natural extension because it's mostly your tribal members that are getting charged. Your tribal members we got the most tribal members, and we're the ones that are out there ricing and doing everything in the 55. I mean, everybody knows that. We go from Big Sandy north, all along. And so I would really encourage the tribe to just put this as a part of their court. And, I don't know what the atmospherics are, but I would just tell you that if you've been talking about these things since 97, and you got all these people right now who are harvesting, and we already got, this recognition of the ricing for off-reservation, I would really encourage that just the tribe would move ahead in the court. And if you want to do something. So that's what I would really say, because I'm a supporter of a working tribal government, and that'd be awesome. But we're all charged now.
And I think that the RBC could move forward with passing this today, and then we also at the same time move forward with planning for the referendum. I mean, I don't think the two have to be mutually exclusive.
Yeah, so that makes it more time.
Any other council input? Kathy, Ray, Annie, anybody else have to say anything? I know what, as chairman, I look at, all the aspects of it and, listen to Lenny and the rest of council is like, and also all of us being water protectors, I think it's important that we protect our water protectors. And I know that we should support them, and, and the black snake's been something that's been kind of been relevant in our prophecies for a long time, and it's like we have to, I think we have to move forward with this, and like what Lenny talked about with his meetings with Judge Grote on the referendum in the future is like, I think this is probably a good time to get this going.
I just want to reiterate that tribal members have a right.
Yep.
They have a right to decide on these cops and these courts. They have a right to decide that. Even if it was all the way back in 1997, sometimes government works slow. Sometimes we get it right. And I think we have an opportunity to get it right this time. So I want to make sure that tribal members have a say on this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, guys.
So do we need a motion to get it going, or?
Yeah.
Okay, motion to approve. So it's important to note too that the resolution that's before the council right now is the resolution that would approve those 1855 resolutions regarding the right to travel, use, and occupy traditional lands, as well as the rights of Minoman. And then it would also approve a minor addition to the judicial code, which would allow the court to exercise, or explicitly allow the court to exercise jurisdiction off reservation. So that's the resolution that's before the council now. And that's what we're asking for approval.
Motion by Annie, second. Second by Kathy.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank
You
you.
better go on.
When will it go into effect?
Hey, Glitch.
So this resolution will go into effect after it's signed, and then it'll take the court, the process to get it up and running. So I could go into effect within a matter of days or weeks here.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. Thank you for protecting the rights of the water protectors. Bring it for your people.
Thank you for protecting the water.
I'll call you later. I know I'll call you.
You go, Abba.
Go on, man. See you at the arraignment.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, John. You go up a bit. You're good.
All right. Be good.
Everybody, thanks, Amy. Thanks, Alan.
Is Judy down out there? I think Judy's.
Good morning, everyone.
Good afternoon, or good morning, Judy. You're up for Logitech?
Logitech, yes.
Logitech.
What Logitech is a, do you want me to just get started?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're all busy, so, okay. Logitech is a way to make this particular room into what I call a much better video conferencing room. It has a camera that would sit at that end a few feet back and would pan out 90 degrees. It would catch everybody on this table, and then it has pods, 2 pods for voice pods, 2 speakers up front, so you can hear and see better. You can attach another device like a laptop, a desktop, or a Surface Pro, something like that, so then you could, use it. And what it would do, now I want to also make clear, I have not ever used one, but what it would do is it would allow you, I think, to get a much better visual for people watching this remotely. They do have one at the casino, and everybody that uses it really likes it. They've had one problem with it, and that's in a room with really tall ceilings. It didn't have great sound. Well, this room doesn't have really tall ceilings, so I think we'd be fine. It also comes with a remote control that would allow you to turn the volume up and down if need be, and do some panning and tilting if you needed to. The other thing that it does on the camera is it has what I call 2 presets. Each preset, once it's set up, as long as people kind of stayed in about the same spot, you wouldn't have to mess with it anymore. And it will show the right height and everything like that. You could put the camera, if need be, on a little tripod. I don't think we'd need to do that, but that's something else that we could do. It should fit in a room about this side, at least from the specs that I have, with the 2 microphone pods. If that's not the case, we could add 2 more. There's a cost associated with it. But so what I think I'm recommending is that we take a hard look at this and see if we want to upgrade this room. And the cost is about a little under $2,400 when all is said and done. I mean, that includes shipping and everything. It was like I think it was $2,410. So that's really what this is about. And again, I want to make sure it sends out 4K video. And the other thing it is it's got 2 devices, and they call them hubs. One's a table hub, and one is the, let me please choose the right term that they use. The display hub. And what that is one would sit on the table up front, one would sit back by the camera. And there's only one cable that goes between those, so it's not that whole mess of cables that you see in so many other video rooms. That's one of the other reasons that people find this and really like it. So, because it's a very easy, there's not a lot of cabling in, and in fact, we could run the cables underneath underneath the table and probably come up right along this line a little bit just by pulling out the device, or we could just have them string across. It's really up to you guys. It's certified to be used for Teams. It's certified to be used for WebEx, and it's certified to be used with Zoom, and it also is certified to be used with our phone system in Jabber. So it kind of meets all of the things that we probably would use with it, and it's certified with a number of other devices, but it's at least certified with devices that we use. Anybody have any questions?
So that would allow the public to ask questions, or no? Probably.
That's a different question, and I don't know the answer to that. I could get the information. I could ask Roman Hanks. That's more of the way we stream it to the internet. I don't know how that works, and I've got to be honest, that's a Roman question, not a Judy question, so I can find that out and get back to you on that.
Sounds good, because that's a big concern of our people, that they want to be interactive with our meetings, so that would be awesome.
Yeah, right now we're getting some comments on here, Annie. We can get comments on YouTube. Like Anita's commented on here right now about some Paulo stuff.
I can't see it.
I know Marie can see it pretty close. I can barely see it too.
Well,
But
what I think it can do is, I've seen it done before.
yeah, up in Grand Portage.
Yeah, they can do, the Zoom, and they can live stream that Zoom
On
onto
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yep.
And so you can get all the questions, you can answer all that stuff, you can even mute people or let people in or whatever, you know,
Yep.
it's a good thing, you
Well,
know?
the other thing we could do is it can have more than one display.
Yeah.
So if we needed a second display down here so you could see it better, we could try to figure out what that would look like. Normally, again, it just would take us a little bit of maneuvering and figuring it out, but I think that might help. But yeah, I thought you meant, audio conversation.
Oh, no, the audio's good on those.
No, I meant from, YouTube, and that's the part I didn't know. You're right,
No,
yes.
they'll have to be on the Zoom thing. The
Yeah.
Zoom would be the
Ask the
primary.
questions.
Yeah.
And I've also asked a question into Roman about, should we get a Zoom account? We're getting him some pricing on that to see if we should, if we want to switch to Zoom because it provides a little bit more functionality. And so he says he's going to look into that and get back to me. So we're seeing if Zoom is maybe a better vehicle for stuff
Some
like.
people don't have the app, but they can click the phone number and it'll allow them to dial into the Zoom thing. So
Yeah, you
audio
can
is
up to
gonna be
200
more-
They could raise your hand
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
for a
Yes.
question.
So, any other questions?
Will the camera make Annie look taller? I don't.
If that's what it takes, I'm sure they'll give it a try. I don't know why she thinks me any taller than. He's kind of a rascal, isn't
I
he?
like, good things come in small packages.
Very good.
All right, okay, so Council, what do you guys think? Any other more questions for Judy on upgrading our current video audio set?
Do you have a contract or anything, or?
We would be buying it, no, we don't have a contract with anybody. We'd be buying it through our normal vendor, which is SHI International.
Yeah.
So that's where we got the pricing from. They're the ones that give us the federal pricing on everything.
How soon can you guys get something? Because I got tribal members that are just beating on the door because they wanna,
I think it would take about 2 weeks to get here at the most.
and I think admin does have a budget for that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know their budget, but they usually do.
But Judy, give more information on what we talked about, where you can integrate Zoom into YouTube.
Yes, I will.
Find more information about that, and, because I think it'll give our membership more input on, online, where they can actually come on camera and ask us questions, or, what we're doing today, and
Yep, I can do that.
so, but that'd be good. But I mean, I have no problem with upgrading our current camera system and our audio system, because sometimes they can't hear us anyway,
Yep.
so. But I mean, would it be a motion? Do you guys think we need, how much is it?
It's $2,410, I think.
We have it in the budget. It would just need a Lori or his.
Then you guys, is council good with that? Kind of like a consensus thing? I don't think we need we don't need a motion, do we? You guys good?
Fine.
Annie?
Yeah.
Alan's good. You guys good with it, Ray, Kathy?
Yes, I'm good.
I'm good with,
Okay, good. Thank you,
I'll get the
Judy.
PO started and get it ordered.
Yeah, thank you.
You'll stop that kind of feedback too.
Yeah. All right, next up is, I think we just have one thing before, oh no, we got two things. EMP. Kathy?
Yeah, my phone is going out, but I was wondering about the extension, and they want to have, the elders want us to build a room for them and attach it to the old center. Hello?
Yeah. I'll have Curtis or Lori reach out to you to find out if we can, I guess they want to build an elder center out there. Is that what you mentioned?
Or do they want to add on to EMP?
Do you want to add on to, was it?
They want, the community council wants add on.
Okay.
I'll reach out.
All right, yeah, Curtis wrote it down, Penny, or Kathy.
Okay.
All right, Miigwech. And they got one more request, and that's for the White Earth National Softball Team donation request.
Yes, Joe Huxler reached out to me, Mr. Chairman, and they actually call themselves the White Earth Nation, men's softball team. They are, all enrolled members, but they're looking for some, requests to help with jerseys, and they don't even know the entry fee or anything like that, but I'm wondering, should we send that to Shooting Star, or should we just move ahead? I mean, the jerseys are nice. He didn't give me the invoice. I do have it on my phone. But the jerseys are like, representing the missing and murdered Indigenous.
Those gaming hell?
Yeah, they're really nice.
Where's
You
Gary?
do the youth and older fund?
And then you'll have White Earth Nation on them.
I'm not sure.
So they're awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Do we, Kurt, well, Kurt will look into that. Kurt,
Okay.
do we use the youth and elder fund or do?
we can if it's, well, I think there's a lot of youth on his team.
Okay,
But I guess that's really up to you guys.
They're all men
yeah, so.
with command rods.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I
I'll
would,
figure
yes,
it out.
they've been doing it for years.
Yeah,
They're
and-
awesome players.
And I think we did pass that too last year for a few of them. And I know that we sent them to the Gary and our donations committee. I think
Okay,
paid
so
for the
I'll
bulk
have-
of it,
yeah,
so.
I'll just have them reach out to Curtis. then.
Yeah, there's still
Okay.
time before it. I know there's a few softball for at least a couple more months, so, but we'll get them taken care of, so. That good, Annie? Okay. All right, next up, we have, the consented signature.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if we could just, say that, we transitioned to this consent agenda model here a little while ago. There's been some bumps in the road with it, and yesterday was another example where, Laura Lee and I work, and, we had a consent agenda ready to send to the council Tuesday night that we were gonna send out early Wednesday morning, and then all kinds of stuff comes in again, and we're sitting around waiting, and it's like, oh, we gotta hurry, we need this done, we need this grant, we need this lease, we need this, we need this, we need this. And it all comes in, mid-morning or early afternoon on Wednesday before the meeting, and so we're sitting around. And so then, poor Laura Lee wasn't able to get the consent agenda out until 3:00 yesterday, because of all these things that come pouring in. So I told Laura Lee yesterday, I said, well, I think both her and I are just kind of too nice, and okay, we'll get it in, and then we're sitting and waiting, sitting and waiting and waiting. And so I know my whole point is I know this didn't get out to council until late yesterday. I don't know if you've all had a chance to review it. That's the whole point of a consent agenda, is to get it out ahead of time so you guys can review everything. And it didn't even get out until 3:00 yesterday afternoon. So with that said, I know there are some time-sensitive things in there. I don't know.
I'm fine with everything. The only one I wanted to look at, Len, was the ag leases.
Yeah,
Because if we're gonna get into growing, that, some of those leases are out to non-tribal members.
I seen that too, and that was,
Okay.
yeah.
So maybe if we could just maybe table that one, everything else I'm
Okay.
fine with that, because I'm worried about signing like a multi-year lease with some of these
Right,
guys.
right.
Yeah.
Well, if we can, why don't we pull out ag leases from the consent
Yeah,
agenda then?
Yeah,
And then, because I know, land is coming in executive session, because I also know that there's some band members that have ag leases that
yeah.
have been needing direction and, and so maybe in executive, we could do a motion for the band member leases
Yeah.
anyway. Yeah, but yeah, if Maria, if you want to reflect in the minutes that, for the consent agenda, the ag leases were pulled, but everything else.
Yeah, I was able to look it over, that was my
That's
thing.
You look at it, Annie, or
No,
you?
Yeah, I looked it over last night, so.
Okay. All right, motion by Alan to approve the consent agenda signature request. Second.
Told you that was gonna happen, didn't
Second.
Second by Annie, all in favor?
So do we need to set a
Motion.
deadline?
Yeah, so, and it's on me, it's on legal, that's what I told Laura, I said, okay, we just need to put our foot down and say, anything we get after, so if the meeting's on Thursday, anything we get after Tuesday morning, because I still need a chance to review it,
Yeah.
is gonna have to go on the next meeting agenda. And that's where, it's just gonna have to, you know, we can't, because it seems like it just comes in batches, you know? And it's not one department, it's all over, you know, oh, we hurry up and need to get this, and it's like, ugh. So anyway, we'll do better at that and make sure that we get the consent agenda to the RBC at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting, so that you guys have enough time to look at everything and.
I knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, gets to be so much, but I took time last night and read through all of it, so it was, yeah, it was good still, so.
Yeah. And I think maybe a way around that would be like if we have situations where like one of them that came in really late was like a grant request, you know, which is pretty important. And maybe what we can do is we say, well, hey, I'll take a look at it when I have time. And if you want to separate from the consent agenda, try to get it before the council, you know. I mean, because we also don't want to hold people up, but in this instance, we had the whole consent agenda that was held up for like three things that came in at the last minute.
You just get tough there, Lenny.
We even tried to do it like 2 weeks, to get them in 2 weeks.
Right,
before the
yeah.
meeting.
Yeah. All right, guys, next up is our executive session. We're gonna go on break too, but I'd like to say, Miigwech, you know, thanks for joining us this morning, you know. Stay safe, get your vaccinations. I know we have multiple clinics going on the reservation. I think we'll have another trip down to the urban office here soon, but we'll get more updates from you when we talk to the health director, and so just stay safe. Miigwech, Igwabamin, the Gudge.
Maria, did you call me?